Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
You are the man who gave them the power to destroy themselves.
They won't fear it until they understand it. And they won't understand it until they've used it.
The movie Oppenheimer paints a dramatic picture of the life of J. Robert Oppenheimer and his role in the development of the atomic bomb. However, it's important to understand what is fact and what is fiction when it comes to this historical figure. In this video, a nuclear historian takes a deep dive into the film, separating fact from fiction and providing an in-depth look at Oppenheimer's life and work. Tune in to get a closer look at the truth behind this famous story. Oppenheimer did deliver a lecture in Dutch. One of the interesting facts about Oppenheimer is that he delivered a lecture in Dutch just 6 weeks after arriving in Leiden, Holland. This was considered an astonishing feat by his peers, although Oppenheimer himself admitted that, "I don't think it was very good Dutch, but it was appreciated." It's possible that a woman he had a short-lived relationship with helped him learn the language. While the movie Oppenheimer portrays him learning Dutch in just 6 weeks, it's important to note that he may have spent time learning the language ahead of time. Additionally, during his recovery from tuberculosis in New Mexico, he could have been brushing up on his Dutch language skills while reading literature. Oppenheimer did try to poison his tutor, but Niels Bohr wasn't there. During his time at Cambridge at the mid-1920s, Oppenheimer had a difficult relationship with his tutor, Patrick Blackett. Oppenheimer admired Blackett, who later became a Nobel Prize winner, but struggled with the practical lab work that Blackett encouraged him to do. Feeling frustrated and living in difficult conditions, Oppenheimer put chemicals in Blackett's apple as an act of rebellion. However, the movie's depiction of nearly taking a bite from the apple is fictional. It was actually Ernest Rutherford who introduced Oppenheimer to Bohr. After Cambridge officials discovered the incident, Oppenheimer's father intervened, and charges were not pressed. Instead, Oppenheimer was placed on probation and required to see a psychiatrist. This incident was one of the intriguing episodes in Oppenheimer's life as explored in the movie Oppenheimer. The Oppenheimers had Håkon Chevalier raise their son, Peter, for a while. In 1941, when Peter Oppenheimer was only 2 months old, his parents, Robert and Kitty Oppenheimer, entrusted him to the care of Håkon and Barbara Chevalier for a brief period. This temporary arrangement was detailed in American Prometheus. Robert cited his wife's exhaustion as the reason for their decision, and the couple retreated to their family ranch, Perro Caliente, located near Los Pinos, New Mexico. However, in the movie depiction, the decision to leave Peter with the Chevaliers was linked to Kitty's drinking. The film portrays a scene in which Kitty is shown as frustrated and intoxicated while managing the baby's care alone, leading to Robert dropping off Peter with the Chevaliers afterward. Germany was not prepared to build an atomic bomb. Niels Bohr escaped Nazi-occupied Denmark in September 1943 and later informed Oppenheimer and others about his 1941 meeting with German physicist Werner Heisenberg. In the movie, Oppenheimer concludes that the Germans were behind the Americans in atomic bomb development. This portrayal is mostly accurate, as the Germans had a small-scale nuclear reactor project that was insufficient for building a bomb at its present size. Definitive proof of Germany's early-stage development came almost a year later in November 1944, according to Wallerstein. Oppenheimer estimated only 20,000 people would die from an atomic bomb. In the movie, Oppenheimer discusses the potential impact of the atomic bomb and estimates the number of casualties to be between 20,000 to 30,000. However, Wallerstein points out that, "I've never seen anything that suggested they had any real mythology." Beyond physicist Arthur Compton mentioning that Oppenheimer believed the number would be around 20,000, there are few references to substantiate it. They knew the bomb was going to end the war. In the movie, the portrayal suggests that the reason for using the atomic bomb was to avoid invading Japan. But that's not how it was actually discussed at the time, stated Wallerstein. It was an after-the-fact rationalization that emerged later. Physicist Carl T. Compton wrote in The Atlantic in December 1946 that dropping the bombs was a calculated gamble. Secretary of War Stimson and others hoped that it would bring an end to the war. Stimson spared Kyoto because he honeymooned there. Selecting the targets for the atomic bombs involved various people, including Oppenheimer and Secretary of War Henry Stimson. In the movie, Stimson's character is somewhat exaggerated, according to Wellerstein. During the depicted meeting in Oppenheimer, Stimson mentions his objection to bombing Kyoto due to its cultural significance and personal connection, stating that he and his wife visited the city after their marriage. However, Wellerstein clarified that while Stimson did visit Kyoto, it's unlikely that it was their honeymoon destination. The decision-making process was more intricate and complex, carrying significant consequences for the cities ultimately bombed. Oppenheimer consulted Einstein about Teller's calculations. In the movie Oppenheimer, we see J. Robert Oppenheimer consulting Albert Einstein about Edward Teller's calculations on the potential catastrophic effects of a nuclear explosion. However, this is not historically accurate. Nuclear historian Alex Wellerstein explained that Einstein would not have been the right person to consult for this type of scientific inquiry. In reality, Oppenheimer turned to Arthur Compton for advice on Teller's calculations. Compton was a physicist and head of the metallurgical laboratory where much of the early work on the Manhattan Project took place. Interestingly, while Teller's theory about a catastrophic explosion was eventually disproven, it did cause concern among some of the scientists working on the project. Hans Bethe, who also worked on the Manhattan Project, later said he did not believe the theory from the start. Enrico Fermi even took bets on Teller's theory before the Trinity test, according to Bethe. While the fictionalized version of Oppenheimer consulting Einstein adds drama to the movie, it's important to separate fact from fiction in order to better understand the history of the Manhattan Project. Oppenheimer remained anti-H-bomb. In the movie Oppenheimer, there is a scene where Oppenheimer is portrayed as remaining anti-hydrogen bomb throughout his life. However, this is not historically accurate. Oppenheimer did initially have reservations about the development of the hydrogen bomb, citing limited resources and the need to focus on existing weapons. However, when breakthroughs were made in the research by Edward Teller and Stanislaw Ulam, Oppenheimer's stance shifted. He became supportive of the hydrogen bomb, believing that it was better for the United States to be the first once again. This fictionalized portrayal in the movie fails to capture the complexity of Oppenheimer's evolving position on the issue. Oppenheimer was sidelined for pondering nuclear weapon consequences. One of the biggest myths perpetuated by the movie Oppenheimer is that the scientists were sidelined because he was the only one thinking about the long-term implications of nuclear weapons. In reality, many people at the highest levels of government were also concerned about the long-term effects of using nuclear weapons. While Oppenheimer did play a role in advocating for this viewpoint, it was not solely his idea, and it was taken seriously by others, including Stimson, who brought those concerns to Truman. Oppenheimer's downfall was more complex and had to do with his political affiliations and past associations. I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave a comment below if you like the movie or not. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the worlds of history and cinema. See you soon!